Everyone has a story. These are the ones that shape the people who've helped shape mine. I'm Robert, and this is Concrete Conversations. In this podcast, I sit down with people whose leadership has influenced me, whether personally or professionally, and I ask them 5 questions. It's a simple format with real stories, and each answer is 3 minutes or less. Today's guest is Joel Galloway. He's the lead on-site supervisor at Onin Staffing in Montgomery, Alabama. Joel and I have worked closely together in the past, and his approach to leadership has left a lasting impression on me. Joel leads with integrity, humor, and a calm presence that naturally draws people to him, and his high emotional intelligence and thoughtful leadership have not only made him an effective leader, but have also significantly influenced my own approach to leadership. Whether he knows it or not, Joel has helped shape how I think, live, and lead. Let's get to the conversation. Well, Joel, thanks for being here today. Gonna hop right into the questions. What core leadership principles guide you, and how did they discover you?
Robert, it's a pleasure to be with you. I think leadership is so important, and one of the guiding principles for me has always been my faith and the values in which I was raised to live by. I had wonderful parents who poured their heart and soul into me and were wonderful examples of how to treat people and how to lead others with integrity. I really believe that if I could narrow it down to one principle that I use as kind of my North Star, it would be treat others like you want to be treated. I know it sounds trite and simple, and it's a thing that we teach our children when they're in kindergarten, but I firmly believe that as I go throughout my day, if I care about and look out for those around me and their best interests from a place of genuine curiosity and treat them the way that I want them to treat me, that it will ultimately all work out. And I mean, there's exceptions to everything, but I have found in my life that it holds true, is that absolutely, if you treat others the way that you'd like to be treated, they'll give you the same back.
How did that find you? It's a pretty simple principle. It's not always easy, but how did it find you?
Well, I believe it ultimately found me because went through a long period of my career with terrible leadership. And I would say most of my 20s, um, they might not have necessarily been bad people in their heart, but not
Right.
everyone is equipped to lead. Not everybody knows how. And I believe looking back, I can just think of multiple instances that I lived through where I said, hey, one day if I'm ever in that position, I'm not going to treat somebody that works with me that way. I'm not going to put a person that I'm responsible for in that position. And so I think it was also a vehicle for me to find valuable lessons through adversity. And so
I think it's
that's
really interesting that you said that bad leaders aren't necessarily bad people. That's too easy. We make things bite sized in our heads. If you're a bad leader, you're a bad person, and I've been a bad leader
well, I
a
have
lot.
too. We all
And
have,
I don't think
honestly.
I'm a bad person. You're here, so I don't think you think I'm necessarily a bad person. So I think that's really interesting. That's a really good point. Let's move on to number 2. And this can be personal or professional. That's up to you. What is your biggest failure? I want you to define that and then share the key lesson that you learned from it.
Well, back around 2013, 14, I took a job as a project manager with a steel fabricator. And I was there for 3 years, but it was a company that was very set in their ways. Individual who owned it had been in that business and had that company for, at that point, I mean, over 30 years. And he was just of the mindset of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And he literally said to me one time, he said, If it's worked like this since 1980 and until I see that it doesn't, that's what we're going to keep doing. And so it was a big culture shock for me, humongous adjustment because they used very little technology. I mean, it was old school to the fullest. And ultimately, after 3 years of trying my best, they felt like that I was not fitting into what they aspired for me to be there, and they fired me. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever been through, personally or professionally. And it was obviously an embarrassment. I mean, and I'd never been in that position before, and it hurt in a very deep way because it was the first time in my working life that somebody looked at me basically and said, you're not good enough.
Right. Yeah.
And that cuts deeply. And so I think the lesson that I learned from that more than anything was, hindsight being 2020, obviously. The lesson that I learned through that situation was that just because you think something is a setback, it truly may be setting you up for future success. Now, that was hard to get me to see clearly in the moment, but
Sure.
looking back at that, the domino effect from that moment forward, I mean, you could add them all up and it would lead to this conversation today. You and I may have never even met had that
Sure.
not happened. And so
One of
I
my
think
favorite
that,
sayings is an arrow has to be pulled back before it can be let go.
yes,
And I think the if we take the failure and learn from it, as a certain Nick Saban says, if we're going to lose, let's not lose twice.
right,
If we take that failure and set it back to push us forward, then it's not really a failure. It may be a setback, like you said, but it's not a failure. Thank you for sharing that with us.
sure.
Let's talk to 25-year-old Joel. Let's ask him, let's give him a 3-minute pep talk, warning, or piece of advice. Tell us what you tell that guy.
I would tell 25-year-old Joel that you make it at least to 38. Obviously we
Right.
don't know what tomorrow holds, but I would definitely give the reassurance of that you haven't been a failure, no matter how many ups and downs there may be between 25 and 38, and that you're still standing at 38, and to relax and not worry so much and take one step at a time and not be so focused on the big picture, but do what is right every day and do your best every day. And those days will add up ultimately to today.
Yep. We call that in my family stacking some good days. Let's
That's
stack
right.
some good days.
That's right.
That's powerful because that sort of consistency and that sort of intentional fortitude, I think we can all say life doesn't get easier. We just get better at doing it,
That's right.
right?
That's
And
right.
so telling 25-year-old Joel and 25-year-old Robert, just get up and do your best. That a lot of people don't even do that. You do that, and worst case scenario, you can look that guy in the mirror and not be upset with him for what he
That's
did
right.
or didn't do that day. That's really it's very powerful. Well, let's talk to 63-year-old Joel. Kind of crazy to think that far in the future.
Yeah, it is.
You get to ask Joel at 63 one question. What's the question, and what do you want the answer to be?
Well, if there's one question, I'd probably want to know, do I still have hair? And I would
That's
hope
all
the
the
answer would
time we
be
have for you
yes.
now, Joel. Losing your hair is not a big deal. That's fine.
At least a little hair. That's what I would hope the
Right.
answer would be.
Sure.
Enough to
Is it more
comb.
on my head than on my chin?
That's right. Okay.
Right.
Yep. That's right.
Sure.
Absolutely. But in all seriousness, if I could ask 63-year-old Joel one thing, it would probably be is did did I make an impact? Is what I have done from 38 to 63, did I make an impact on the people around me, my friends, my family, my kids, my wife? Because ultimately that's really the measurement, the goalpost that I've always been striving for is I just want what I do in my life, personally and professionally. I want it to matter. And I want the people that I meet in my life, I sincerely want, no matter what form we encounter each other or what way we interact, I want everybody I meet to be better for having known me. So I guess I would just want to know, did that all play out like I hoped?
So you asked that question, kind of a silly follow up. What do you want the answer to be?
I would definitely want the answer to be that I made a difference in the world around me. Without a doubt. I hope that one day you and I, Robert, can look back and maybe we're even doing this podcast, at that age.
I love
I,
it.
I hope we can look back and say that we made a difference in our lives and made the world a better place in some, at least a small way.
That's powerful. I love that question. Love the answer. Let's take it a little more personal, a little more weird, which is where you and I live. So it's
Yes,
not,
that's right.
we're not unsettled.
That's
What's
it.
a unique, quirky, or niche hobby, interest, or fact about you? And knowing you, you're similar to me. There's a lot to choose from here. So
There's a vast array of options, but I
dealer's
would,
choice.
okay,
You pick.
fair enough, fair enough. I would say the thing that people seem to be, especially in my working life, that the thing that people seem to be the most surprised about is that I sing and that I'm a musician. Now, that's not weird to me at all because I grew up playing music and being very involved in music at my church and things like that. And I have always done those things. And so it's not strange to me in the slightest. But for people who only see me in the professional environment, they're often surprised to hear that I am a musician. I mean, that's what I went to college for. It's, my happy place, if you will. And I love that. I actually played the piano and sing with a gospel group that travels kind of locally around here and sings in churches named
I
Holy
always
Destiny.
mess the name up, and you
Yeah,
know this. So what's the name of your group?
Holy Destiny is the name of the
Shout them
group.
out.
That's
Shout
right,
out the
Holy
guys.
Destiny. Yep, Stacy, Rob, Stanley, and Alan. They're some of my dearest friends in the world, and it is so fun to get to do something that you enjoy, no matter what it is, whether it's play golf or fish or anything. It is so fun to get to do something that you deeply love with your friends, and
And your family.
that's right.
And because your kids are in private lessons and do all the.
Oh, yes, my girls do sing a lot. We do things together, and I could not be prouder to see them work hard at those things and use all their talents and to just it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Well, Joel, I didn't tell you this part because I'm a jerk, but the ending of this is going to be me telling you how much I appreciate you.
Uh,
I have learned so much from you and our time together. You're truly one of the most emotionally intelligent people that I've ever met. Uh, I think question 4 can sort of be answered now. I think the impact that you have around you is immense. I think the people that know you would tell you that you're not done. None of us are. But I love you. I appreciate you. You're somebody that I look up to and respect and we met and we were friends. It was just that quick and that
it
easy.
was. It truly was.
So I appreciate you putting yourself out there, being the first guest on my podcast. I couldn't have a better friend and a better person to kind of kick things off. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your openness. And I know someone's going to get something out of this. So I know it'll be worth it on that side of it. Joel, appreciate you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, and I feel all the same things back at you. I mean, I thank you for all the things that you've taught me and for being a wonderful friend as well. So I wish you nothing but the best in this journey. Happy to be the guinea pig.
Thanks, Joel. Appreciate you. Bye-bye. That's the conversation. 5 questions with someone who's had a real impact on how I lead and move through the world. These conversations, see, they're not about perfection. They're about perspective. And Joel brought that in full with us. What struck me was how Joel talked about learning leadership through adversity. Not from a perfect example, but from the commitment to lead differently. Joel's willingness to be honest about failure, growth, and the impact he hopes to have on others reminded me why I wanted him on the podcast in the first place, and more importantly, why I'm so honored to call Joel a friend. If you got something out of this conversation, I hope you'll stick around for more. And if it meant something to you, consider sharing it or starting your own conversation about it on social media. Thanks for making time for Joel's voice. It's one that's helped shape mine. I can't wait to share the next conversation with you, but until then, be kind. It's important. Thanks.